So let's talk about recruitment. Does anybody have anything to share just off the top that they have found that's worked?
Well, I'm Steve Diamond from the Columbus JCC, a neighbor of Michelle, who's only a couple hours away. I'm new to this role, so I'm probably just going to take a back seat and listen, since I'm still kind of learning our recruitment, onboarding, and retention process. So kind of came here with just a small team, like probably everybody else, and really kind of diving into the recruitment process now and kind of looking at it from all angles and trying to overhaul it. I think the one key thing is everybody needs to realize, at least in our organization, that they're a recruiter. I have one person that does recruiting, but I think the message that I need to convey to everybody, especially from the executive team to the management level, is they also need to recruit as well, whether they do it on their LinkedIn profile, referral basis. We all need to kind of recruit for the JCC, but I'll leave it at that and maybe let some of the others speak on what they're doing. So thank you.
Hi, I'm
Did anybody?
Brittany.
Hey, Brittany. Did anybody want to take notes also? Can somebody take notes?
Yeah, I'll be taking notes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Brittany. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So we last year got this program called Applicant Pro, which offers a nonprofit discount. And it kind of like, the cool thing about this is it sends these, job postings to like 15 different sites, all at once. And it's relatively affordable. I think we pay $4.17 a month for it. And that's significantly lower than what it would be to sponsor on Indeed. So that's what we're using predominantly. I'm an HR department of 1, so recruitment falls on me. I didn't say I was from Buffalo,
Same.
did I? I'm from Buffalo.
Mhm.
So at this moment in time, we're doing a lot of job fairs here at the local universities. I'm getting some of my staff who are specialized in those departments to come with me for those, or just people who I think are super charismatic. For example, we have a program director who is the nicest person on earth. People gravitate towards him. So I bring him to as many as I possibly can. Also helps that he has an HR degree, so he can kind of help me out there. But a lot of it is just organic outreach and getting the name of the J out right now. What we're struggling with is camp. Camp counselors. Just with the size of Camp Centerland here.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely interested in hearing about how other people are getting, 18 to 22-year-olds to come in to join their programs, even if it's just seasonally. Let me know if you have any questions about Applicant Pro, though. That's been like amazing for us.
That's awesome.
That's actually one of the things that I was curious to ask all of you about. I'm Caitlin. I'm the HR director here at the Mid-Island JCC, as well as the Suffolk JCC on Long Island in New York. And I was curious how many of you guys are utilizing an applicant tracking system. And if you've found that it has been beneficial, and why or why not. I am a huge proponent of using applicant tracking systems. I think it's a great way to organize job search information, applicant information. It's sort of like a electronic filing cabinet, right, of all of your openings, your requisition history. It's just, I think it's great. That's not something we currently have in place now. And, I did some initial research, reached out to a couple of vendors, had some demos. And I think that it would add a lot of value. So I guess in my very long-winded way, like I said, I was just curious, if you're using one, if you find it to be helpful, and if you, if it's relatively new to the agency, how were you able to sell, bringing on a new piece of technology or a new application at an additional cost to the executive team?
So Caitlin, since you're an HR department of one also, I think I can offer you some insight on how I was able to get this through. A lot of it was about cost analysis, especially with the price of advertising things on Indeed and all of the hundreds of websites. So a lot of it is I talked directly to the vendor and got a presentation from them. In addition, I had a rep available to kind of answer any of the questions. But selling it to the executive team was mainly a matter of cost analysis, and that includes, the labor associated with recruitment. Applicant Pro has been, I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a cheerleader for them. I promise I'm not getting paid for this. That being said, everything is all in one there. You can even add modules for like background checking.
Okay.
We personally don't, because we didn't find it to be cost effective. But I think especially when it comes to several high-level executives, the cost analysis is huge to make sure that they're getting an ROI.
Right.
And we certainly are, especially with how much time it saves me.
Okay. So I was curious, because you're an HR department of one, was this a shift in culture as far as now? Because I can't imagine that you're able to, maybe you are, do all of the recruiting and interviewing for the agency. Right now, because I support two agencies, a lot of that falls onto the hiring managers. So, one of my big concerns is now there's going to have to be a cultural shift, right? Where before, the hiring managers would come to me and say, can you post this job? Can you do an initial resume screen? Now, if we're automating this, it is giving the hiring managers the ability to review and screen. And so, that's kind of a daunting task that I get a little overwhelmed by just thinking about, now I'm going to have to train the managers on appropriate interviewing techniques and how to read resumes, which they're doing anyway. So, was that a challenge for you? And how do your managers use Applicant Pro, if at all, or are you really the sole user?
So I'm sorry for being the one who's talking the most. I sincerely
No.
They have so the way Applicant Pro works, the reason why I'm the primary user is because I can screen all of the job postings. I'm the only one who can post job postings.
Okay.
Because I need to make sure they're as per our format, compliant, legal, all of those fun things, because I'm also in charge of two facilities, our downtown Buffalo location and our Gettsville location, which is Amherst, New York. So I actually allocate applicants to particular supervisors. So they get alerted when a new applicant comes in, and they're able to review the resume. In there is also, a list of, I did a pretty extensive training with my supervisors, what you legally can and cannot ask.
Right.
And for their first couple, I sat in on those interviews, not like in the background, just to make sure that there was nothing that could get us in trouble legally. But after a while, they kind of got the hang of it. A lot of the times for the higher level roles, I'll do the full cycle of recruiting. But if it comes to like lifeguards or early childhood,
Sure.
I'll do the initial double check. A lot of the screening questions I put in there, which they have the capability to do, that kind of does my first weed out, I guess, of people who aren't qualified.
Okay.
So I was going to say that we use Jazz HR, which is an applicant tracking system. I don't know if you've looked into them. They did give us a discount for being a nonprofit. We did start this back in 2019, so we've been using it for quite some time. And how it works is supervisors they do exactly what you said, which is what's making you nervous. But I have a checklist on SharePoint of just all of the steps that they're supposed to follow. from like literally making the job description to putting it into a template that has the posting. And they just take that whole thing and copy and paste it into Jazz. And then I get an email and I go in and approve it.
Okay.
Or edit it, because most of the time it's just not correct, but I just edit it. We've also have just some other things. We've done retention bonuses for our current staff. We have hiring bonuses for some of our biggest area that we're trying to hire for is ECP, or early childhood program. We are just not staffed. Camp, we actually are finding a lot of staff. So I can connect you with our camp director if you'd like. And then, you know, we have a hiring bonus, and then we also have a referral bonus.
Okay.
So we are trying to empower our staff to be recruiters also by.
Yep, absolutely.
And I mean, I like Jazz HR. The only downfall is that I can't remember the reason why, but Indeed wants us to, like, if we want to sponsor a job, we have to actually make another job in order to sponsor it. We can't sponsor one that's posted from the Jazz HR website.
So you have
That
to
makes
post
sense.
it on Jazz and then post it separately on Indeed as a sponsored ad.
Yes. And so when it's posted on Indeed only, then I don't get notified. And then those applicants can just go
Fall
off into
through
the
the cracks.
yonder. Yeah,
Exactly.
and fall into the cracks, which, you know, we want to make sure everyone gets a response regardless
Right.
of whether they're chosen or not. So
And then not only that, but you're paying for the applicant tracking system and also paying for the sponsored ad. Right.
correct. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Which is
Yeah.
why we chose Jazz in the first place, because we're spending so much money on sponsored ads.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're using, we use ADP for all of our systems. And so we use their applicant tracking module as well. Previously, we've had a standalone called Snapfire that had some good pricing for nonprofits. One of the great things with having an ATS too is that you then have a building database of applicants. So even if you're screening somebody out for a particular job, you can come back, you can search. If it's a good system, you can come back and search anybody who has, you know, an ECE certificate or, you know, the Red Cross, you know, CPR, whatever it might be. You then have this growing pool that you can continue to come back to, which is really
Right.
nice. We kind of try to limit some of our manager access to different parts of it, but we can set up kind of steps in the screening process. So it's really transparent where applicants are. And if somebody's applied for more than one job, like it's just a great way to get a visual on it. And we do think it gives us a lot of efficiencies in terms of manager time, efficiencies in the hiring process.
Right.
And then we feed from there, like, because it's all with one provider with ADP. So we use ADP background check. So it's just a click of a button to run that. Basically another click of a button to bring them into the actual employee database. So it streamlines things. It's not perfect, but it works pretty well. And then through the ADP applicant tracking, it also flows overnight to Indeed and various other boards. We also, and this is going to end up being a budget thing, I think, and a need, but we have an account with LinkedIn Recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
They also they cut quite a bit off the price for nonprofit. So if you haven't looked into it, it's worth checking out.
Okay.
But our package includes all of the recruiter tools. So you can do a lot of the searches, and they call them in-mails, you know, direct to applicants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of promotional tools, and then, you know, a certain number of job slots as well. So rather than buying individual job postings on LinkedIn, we have a package that includes, I think we have 4 job slots, and we can shuffle them around as often as we want. So whatever jobs we want to highlight, you know, so if we're in a really big push for our preschool teachers or for seasonal staff or something at high level, so we can pick and choose, and we just always have the 4 job slots. And then the applicants come back in they get referred back to our system. So it works really well.
Okay.
And then for things like camp, for ECE, for aquatics that are always the really challenging ones, we do offer referral bonuses as well.
What HRIS system do you use?
We're using ADP.
You're using ADP. What about you, Caitlin?
We're using Paycor. Sorry, Paycom. We use Paycor.
Same here.
Okay, we use Paycor at Suffolk and Paycom at Mid-Island, so it's very confusing.
So we used the Paycom applicant tracking system at one
Have
point,
you
and it
liked
was
it?
no.
No. Okay, because that's the one obviously, because we're already using their HRIS and payroll services.
I love everything else about it,
I love
but
it
they
too.
promised us the world whenever we were going to put it, start implementing it, and they put a few jobs in there, but then it was our responsibility to put in all the other jobs, and it was so time consuming.
Got it. So the implementation was,
Yeah, I mean, they were like, we'll help you build all of the jobs, but
no,
they didn't realize how many just different jobs we have. We just have way too many jobs.
right. Got it.
We also have Paycom, and I find it to be very clunky based on past ones. I personally would recommend, I don't always like an add-on for a company that's basically like a payroll and HRIS like Paycom is, because I don't think that they can do those ancillary software platforms as well. So when you have a standalone, like in my previous job, we used Lever, and most of those like iSIMS and others, I think they know that they have to integrate well with some of these other systems, and they just seem to work a little bit better. Because like you, Ashley, I'm not real happy with Paycom's applicant tracking. It's not very intuitive, really
The
isn't.
only benefit is that when you hire somebody through it, it automatically feeds into the systems. You don't have to
Right.
enter in all their information. This is the
Right.
only benefit.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, these are great systems for me to check out further. So
Ask another question if I could, which is, I'm curious how, I don't want to shift the topic of conversation too much, but I'm curious how people are approaching diversity in hiring in terms of resources. Like for us, like we're making sure that our language is inclusive. We have different things on our website about, kind of our philosophy and values and things, but just eager to hear if people have other, interesting approaches that they're trying. I know it's a hot topic for lots of folks.
I'll just say real quick, I think the JCC, at least in Columbus, and I think JCCs around the world, let alone the country, have always been an inclusive and diverse organization. I think that's always kind of been our mission and values. So I just think that other organizations, I think the culture of today is, where a lot of people are moving toward. But I'd like to think that at least here in Columbus, we've always been that. And I think it's just a little bit more heightened because of everything that's gone on. But I think it's, for us, it's just a continuation of doing what we do.
I'd say that sometimes we get people who are like, I'm not Jewish. Can I work for you guys? So we do have a statement on our website. I mean, on all of our postings, that's, we're an inclusive organization and all are welcome. I can't remember verbatim, but something along those lines.
Yeah, we have something that says everyone is welcome here in pretty much all of our advertising.
yeah, I actually agree with Steve. I think I've been in my role for about a year and 2 months. And I was a little hesitant because I'm like, I've never worked for a Jewish organization before. I'm not Jewish. How is this, is it going to be weird? And I have to say, it's probably the most inclusive work environment I've ever worked in. And I remember that being something where I was like, wow, this is so awesome to see. So I think, yeah, like Steve, to your point, I feel like that's what the JCC is kind of all about. I do feel like it's sort of this hidden secret, right? That like people don't maybe realize how inclusive we are. So it would be great to kind of like shout it from the rooftops. But I think that's one of the things that makes being part of a JCC so special, is that it is kind of this like little, hidden secret thing. But yeah, I mean, I would be curious to find out, other than statements on postings and the website, like, how are you promoting, DEI initiatives throughout the workforce and what has worked.
So I'm gonna jump in and kind of back Caitlin as well. I've only been with Toledo for 3 months in my role. And I also am non-Jewish, and I serve as the HR person and the burial coordinator. So I have learned so much information in a short period of time. And we also have a very tenured staff. So many of our staff have been here for 20+ years. And it has been one big family since I've joined. And I foresee it kind of being a hidden little secret gem as well. So.
What did you say your coordinator role is?
Burial. So all the cemetery, the people that pass away.
Oh my goodness.
We have 2 cemeteries in the area.
Wow.
Yeah, so I coordinate with the synagogues as far as the purchasing and internments of individuals and things of that nature. So I work with both the alive people and and actually Tina, one of our employees, is heading down to Columbus next week, I believe, to start her new job with you. So at the Federation.
Oh, very good.
So.
Well, she'll love Columbus. Great city. When Caitlin was talking, I had to smile because, again, I'm fairly new here. And when I had a meeting with some of the directors in the ECLC, they talk about, and they bring up holiday, Shavuot and Shemini Atzeret, and the terms are rolling off their tongue, and they're not Jewish, and talking about Shabbat. And I go to Shabbat on Friday and watch them sing songs. And it's just great that they've integrated and they are well engrossed in the Jewish traditions and some of the teachings that go on throughout the school. So, and I think that they enjoy it too. They see, how much fun it is and how the kids enjoy that. So you're right. You don't have to be Jewish necessarily to enjoy or to understand it. And I think that's important in that culture. And one last thing, we did and I was looking it up. We actually hired about a year ago, Hannah, who's our disability inclusion kind of coordinator. So we hired someone specifically, as I'm sure maybe some other people did too, to develop programs to be inclusive, whether it's someone with special needs or not. But that's also been a big help in our organization also.
Very cool.
So does it look like we're supposed to go back to the main room?
I think so. Looks that way.
Yeah.
Nice talking
All
with
right.
everyone.
Yeah.